Hello?
Oh my god, terrifying.
Hey.
So for some reason, let's see if I can stop.
Yay! Hello.
There's Neil Gaiman.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Neil.
Hi, Neil Gaiman. Oh my god, there's video too.
Hello.
So Desert Bus is actually getting played.
Desert Bus is indeed getting played.
Yeah. We have been. I think we have pretty much conclusively proven that we've played it the most of anybody in the world. So.
I remember Penn Jillette telling me about it back in, 1998.
Oh really?
99, very proudly.
That's amazing.
And
You're more than welcome to come in and play it sometime.
Yeah.
you know, given Penn's description of it, I think I can skip that.
Yeah.
Possibly when I get very, very old.
Yes.
I feel the need to play a game with absolutely no excitement. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So I was up far too late last night answering emails from friends who'd seen my Simpsons appearance.
How was that experience for you?
You know, it's wonderful. It was really, really. It got good the moment the script arrived, and I read it, and I got to the end, and I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but it has at least 2 twist endings, and I get to do stuff.
Yeah, we've been kind of trapped here, but
It is high up on my to-do list.
Obviously, seeing that you're trapped there and don't know anything about it, it's safe to say that I have now taken over Springfield, and the show will be renamed The Gaimans.
do you feel like they captured your essence, so to speak? Do you feel like it was a good rendition of you in cartoon form?
I think of the ones that I would like to be remembered by, obviously the version of me on Arthur, who is kind to children, advises them on their graphic novels, and inspires people to create great art.
Is also
Is probably closer to how I'd like to be remembered than the Simpsons one, who is just so incredibly eager to join Homer Simpson's writing group that he basically becomes the caterer. But the apparently there's a point where I do give an inspirational speech in there, and Homer says, "British Fonzie was right." The 40 seconds of that being delivered, there was already a British Fonzie account on Twitter. And it was trending worldwide. What that people do not know.
If you've got to be known as something, that's not too bad.
British Fonzie. So here's where I get to jump the shark. I understand that you guys have questions and things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we everybody's been very excited to talk to you, and we put a we put a post up on our blog, and some people have posted some questions, some of which we're going to be skipping because they are not good questions. But there's a lot of love for your Doctor Who work, and so somebody's asking. In regards to the Doctor's Wife episode, what made you want to examine the relationship between the TARDIS, what led you to explore the relationship with the TARDIS? That whole, very cool. One of my favorite episodes actually of the last season.
You know, the funny thing is, the way that most writing works is that what you wind up doing is following a chain of thought. So it's not like I got up and one morning and went, right, I'm going to write a Doctor Who episode. I shall examine the Doctor's relationship with his TARDIS by by making her human. It began with me going, oh my God, I have to come up with a Doctor Who scenario. And then going, the one thing that I really wanted to see that we haven't done in New Who is just going deeper into the TARDIS, seeing more than just that one room. And at the time when I was pitching this, we were still in David Tennant. So, and then I thought, well, hang on. If you send the Doctor into the TARDIS, it's his environment. It's all loaded. It's a safe and welcoming and warm environment for him. Even if I wanted to, send hunters after him into the TARDIS, the TARDIS is on his side. I thought, so I've got to make the TARDIS threatening. And so how can I do that? Well, I could have the companions going, or a companion going deeper into the TARDIS. That would be cool. But I've still got to make the TARDIS threatening. Well, what if the TARDIS has been taken over by some kind of, evil entity? And I thought, that gives me some plot. And then I thought, but what am I going to do with the intelligence that embodies the TARDIS? I'll stick it in somebody. And that can be the Doctor's plot. And that was the sort of the train of thought that got me to that point. It wasn't the place I began. It was the place that I sort of arrived at. And in truth, I am slow enough that it wasn't until I phoned Stephen Moffat, explained the story to him, and he went, "Oh my God, TARDIS girl! Oh, we've never done that TARDIS girl. Brilliant, yeah, TARDIS girl." But I went, "Oh, that's obviously where the plot is going to go."
Nice.
You could see him getting all excited by that.
Okay, there's some people asking for any information that you can divulge about the HBO American Gods series that is currently in development. I don't know if you can say anything, but
there's very, very little I can say. We finally, the main thing I can say is it got announced the day or like 2 days after HBO said yes. And the reason it got announced 2 days after HBO said yes is there are lots of people in Hollywood these days working in the equivalent of mailrooms who pick up $100 here and there by leaking details of what's going on in their offices to online people. So, which meant that really, essentially 6 months before it was meant to be announced, it got announced. And the truth is, it's taken 6 months to get the director, the producers, the producing entity, everybody else's contracts with HBO done. They are now all done. I had my first conference call yesterday with the director, who's done a sort of first pass of notes at the script for the pilot episode. And the first thing that I'm going to do when I get off the phone from you lot is read it. So I'm focusing incredibly one thing at a time on the American Gods HBO thing. I figured the first thing to do is get a really good kick-ass pilot episode written, and then it's to actually figure out the shape of the first season, and then it's to write the second American Gods novel as quickly as I can, so that they have something to start filming in 2.5 years' time.
Nice. So this is kind of someone says they have not actually read any of your books and was wondering what they should start with. They've always meant to, but what would you recommend as a introductory Neil Gaiman book?
The problem when people ask me that is the reply is always, what kind of books do you like? There are lots of authors out there who do one kind of thing, and if you like one of their books, you'll like all the others, because they're all the same kind of thing. I tend to be easily bored. So when I do stuff, it's normally in a reaction to whatever I just did, and it's me going, I don't want to do one of those again, or not for a long time. I've started pointing people at Neverwhere on the theory that most people kind of like Neverwhere, and it's a good starting point. American Gods tends to be it's love it or hate it. If you're English, there's a thing that we put on our toast called Marmite that some people like very, very much, and the rest of the world hates. And my wife dislikes so much she wrote a song about it, which she then put on her Australian album and made about Vegemite, the Australian Marmite, because the symbols were right, the syllables were right.
Can I ask a quick question then? How much would you say is an appropriate amount of Marmite to eat?
How much?
Not very much at all. Very seriously, the problem that most Americans have is they look at Marmite and assume that you spread it on in the same way that you would spread on jam or honey or something like that, and then discover what they've got is absolutely revolting. Marmite comes in fairly small pots, and one of those pots can last a family for a year. You put a little on, and it adds umami. It's the salty umami pleasure center part of the brain, but that's what it's hitting. And there is such a fine line between a little to give you that buzz and so much that it becomes salty and inedible. Amanda takes enormous pleasure in pointing out to me something that she learned from Wikipedia, which is they apparently spent like over 10 years trying to render the brewing yeast. What they use is leftover brewing yeast after the brewing process. They had this stuff that they had to throw away otherwise, but they knew that it was nutritious. It was simply inedible, and people hated it. And they spent 10 years making it inedible, and Amanda says that they didn't actually succeed in making it edible. They just brainwashed the British into eating it.
Sort of
She also laughs at me because I have 21 jars of Marmite in my factory, which is only because Amazon.com sells them. If you order your Marmite from Amazon, which you can do, and which I did, it comes in batches of in things of 12, and so I ordered a thing of 12, and one of them was broken, and I let Amazon know, and they eat another thing of replacement. So I now have 24 jars of Marmite, and that was like 5 years ago, and I now have 21.
So you're pretty much set for Marmite.
I am set for life, and will probably bequeath some.
It's actually related to Neverwhere. There's somebody saying they absolutely adored the novel, but they were somewhat disappointed in the television series, and they were wondering would you have any desire to redo it with a more time and a bigger budget, and have another sort of go at it.
I would, but although in many ways for me, the driving imperative to get it right was sort of decreased when I did the novel. The novel for me was my director's cut. I was so upset and disappointed by what the BBC did when I gave them these scripts and what we wound up with, that I went, well, that wasn't what I meant. And I went over and wrote a novel. And the point of the novel was this was what I meant.
Oh, I see.
And
Okay.
So once that had happened, I was definitely a lot less impelled to go, I have to, have to remake it. But we're definitely getting people these days asking to remake it. And since it was published in '97, I think there's scarcely been a minute that it hasn't been under film option. So, sooner or later something will happen with Neverwhere.
Nice. Let me just look through here. What were your experiences working on 2000 AD?
I didn't really have any experiences working on 2000. I wrote 4, maybe 5 Future Shocks in the early days of 2000 AD, and they did them. One of them was meant to be funny, and they took out all the jokes very, very carefully, which meant that it wasn't really anything once they finished with it. It certainly wasn't a great idea. And that one left me really puzzled. It was like sort of trying to rewrite, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as an adventure. And they did that, and then I discovered at the time they were repackaging 2000 AD stuff for the US, and I saw some of my Future Shocks colored in, stretched, and sold on in American comics, and I said, "This is so cool. Do I get royalties?" And they said no.
Oh.
And I stopped in 2000 AD. I thought, this is silly. It's not like they're paying very much. I'm just doing it for the fun. So that was my 2000 AD experience. It was relatively short, and it made me sad because I loved 2000 AD. I thought it was such a great launch pad. And even today, I think, I love the fact that I got to learn, to learn in public. And there was one of the Future Shocks I did that I actually thought was good. It was, and I thought it was good because it was comics. It wouldn't have worked in any other medium. It was just 2 disembodied voices discussing the use of the planet Earth as a decorative ornament. While you sort of learn about Earth and the problems with getting one of these Earth things as a decorative ornament, because these life forms sort of grow up on them and then they blow up.
And
you have
we have one more question here.
Point. We just got another point, Neil.
Yeah, we just got a point in that this every 8 hours in playing Desert
every
Bus.
8 hours. I'm
Yeah.
proud of you.
There we go. So that's
Don't you ever hope that you're going to be playing Desert Bus and round about hour 70 you're going to see a hitchhiker.
yeah.
So
Well,
how many
it's-
points is that?
that is 8
8.
points right
Really?
now. So yeah, we always say that, like, 300 hours in there'll be another car that comes the other direction or
That
something.
we just weren't expecting, yeah.
So there's one more question here from there's one of our friends who was actually watching at home, and she sent this text message because she was very excited, saying that your retelling of the Snow White story, the Snow Glass Apples, is by far her favorite version, and she was wondering what was your inspiration for that, and or any thoughts about it.
Yeah, no, my inspiration for that, I was in the bath reading a book of the Penguin Book of English Folk Tales by a man called Neil Phillips. And he retold a version of Snow White in which they weren't dwarves, they were robbers. And I'm just reading along, and she does the whole Snow White thing, and she has the poisoned apple, she dies, her body's put out in a glass coffin, a prince rides past and says, "Whoa, I'm in love." And I thought, what kind of prince looks down at a dead body and goes, "Oh my God, she's gorgeous, hubba hubba, I'm bringing that back to my castle"? Which is something that, it's been part of the story. I'd heard it since I was 2 or whatever. And then I suddenly thought, that's really fucked up. And then I thought, actually, what kind of person gets to die, lie in a coffin for 6 months or a year, and then get up and get better again? Absolutely unrotted, unharmed. And for that matter, that kind of person does tend to have skin as white as snow, hair as black as coal, and lips as red as blood. And suddenly I had a story. And I thought, well, what if it's just our stepmother, rather than being evil, simply didn't go far enough? And the story began.
We have one last thing. Now, during Desert Bus, we take challenges from our chat and from people on the internet. They ask us to do things and give us money for basically doing whatever they ask us to do. And we have an ongoing challenge, which was to collect facts from as many people as possible. And so every person who comes in or who calls in, we are trying to any collect a fact from. So do you have any kind of fact that you could add to our collection? We get money for each one.
To your fact collection, do you know what B space is?
No.
Okay. The concept of bee space is what allows commercial beekeeping to happen. It's because bees are not domesticated. Instead, they use essentially bee psychology, as discovered by a man called Lorenzo Langstrath in the 1850s, who developed the modern hive by observing bees. And he realized that if you have a small space, much as if you have a crack in a wall, bees will fill it with propolis and block it off. If you have a large space, much as for human beings, if you had a room, bees will fill it with honeycomb. But if you have bee space, which is the equivalent for human beings of a corridor, and it's a very specific amount of space. It's the amount of space that two bees, one crawling over each other, take. Bees will keep that clear. So the entire nature of modern beekeeping, with the slats that go in, everything is spaced in order that bees will not fill the entire area with comb. It's all about the bee space. So there you go. And as a minor footnote to that, Lorenzo Langstrath, having invented bee space, having come up with the design of the modern hive, which is actually now, 150 years on, the same design, and has gone worldwide, got absolutely nothing in the way of royalties, because every farmer in America and every beekeeper would just build their own little wooden hives and send Lorenzo Langstrath no money. And he died impoverished, depressed, and grumpy. So there you go.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You are so welcome, guys.
And thank you so much for calling in.
Good luck. Have a marvelous time playing, and I hope you get another point. And I really hope that one of you playing Desert Bus will accidentally be playing the hacked version, where you actually do get a really nice hitchhiker who comes on. You can slow down, pick them up, and they get on the bus and just tell you interesting things for 8 hours.
One could only hope.
But
One day.
somebody just swaps in a different one.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Neil.
thank you so much.
And during that call, we raised almost $1,500.
Oh, wow.